The Fredericksburg Rescue Squad was organized in 1939. Their charter was obtained in February of 1940. The charter members, the only one left of the original group, is Wheeler T. Thompson, which is now in Carriage Hill Nursing Home. And Bus is 90 years old now. The first contribution was made of $300 from the city of Fredericksburg. Several of the organizations within town contributed different things. One of the funeral homes, Elkin's Funeral Home, contributed an old hearse from used. They also had a Chevrolet van that they used for answering calls with equipment in that. And there's been a lot of changes, which you can see now, and the group here consists of a lot of years of rescue squad work.
You want to go ahead and start introducing yourself around? Start with you.
My name is Jack Butler. I joined the rescue squad in December the 7th, 1948. Nymet Sigrid was captain at the time, and Joe Altman Sr. was president. You had to have a standard first aid course to become a member. And we went on through the advanced course and instructor's course. And we later on, Fred and I, we taught the first aid class in Orange. We taught
Bill and myself and you went to Orange. Went to Orange and started the first rescue squad. Taught the first group of people to start the Orange Squad.
When you became a member, they sent you on down to Western Auto Store to get a $2.98 tackle box. And they painted for you, and I still have mine in my car. I've got some of the original equipment in it. It's rather old right now. And during the day, they had an air horn that went off 3 times for a signal that there was a squad call. If you were close by, it knocked you out the socks. It was so loud. Then later on, they did away with that. It was too much of a hazard. People might have a heart attack and stuff like that. At nighttime when you want to do it, they called you at your home. The calls would come in to the police department. Then it would be relayed over to the firehouse, and that's where all the boards were with all the members on them. We had around 23 or 24 at that time. It was 5 or 6 to a squad. And if you want to do this, Mr. Smith, Bigfoot, Fred's father-in-law, they'd call us. Sometimes I didn't have a car. Jiggs Brunner would come by and pick me up from the police department and take me up there to go and answer calls. I think we had about 23 members in it, 24. We had good harmony and like family. Got along fine. So
Okay, I'm Fred Bays. I came in January of 1949, and I'm still on the active roll, haven't been answering too many calls. Instructor for all the years. As Jack said, to begin with, it was standard first aid, a 12-hour class. It was 1958 when advanced first aid became the training required. Then in 68, EMT came in. And I've got a Bible at home right now that I taught the first advanced first aid to the squad members at that time. And over the years, there's been a lot of changes before EMT. Now on there, you've got one question about when did CPR start? Junior Hicks, a doctor from the hospital, nurse myself, went to Fairfax and took the first training in CPR. And back at that time, to teach CPR, people read a book. You had an inflatable dummy. They'd done a little mouth on that, and that was all that's necessary to do CPR in that day and time.
Her name was Andy, right?
Right. Frank.
I'm Frank Mills. I joined the squad, I think it was 1960. I felt like though I was in the squad long before that because the calls would come into the firehouse and I was a volunteer fireman, of course we hung around there. And after so many minutes, if no other squad member showed up, as long as one had to drive the ambulance, they would say, come on, go. And we would go. So I had done that several years before joining the squad. So there was the same today that y'all had to go to the paid people in the daytime. It was the same problem back then, that you could not get people in the daytime. And Ernie Fodman was shift work. He was around the firehouse a lot during the day, and he'd taken a lot of calls.
Yeah, sure.
And he had, and of course Sam wasn't as active then because Sam was still working. But after that, of course, Sam took the whole load when he retired.
John Hamilton.
John Hamilton was there. But
Cleaners, he could
but
go.
you just could not get a member, all the members at the same time. So a lot of, they picked up anybody they could and carried on the call. That's it.
Gene Stubbs, like Frank, came in about 1960. But no one failed to, well, actually they did fail to tell me that they're going to keep you up half the doggone night, you have to work the next day. And at that time I was going back and forth to Quantico, so I had to get up early. And you did this for a whole week at a time. But anyway, I was deeply honored when I was inducted into this outfit. I noticed up on the wall here you have a lot of deceased past captains. And they're the ones that built this organization. Through thick and thin, they kept it going. We speak of traumatic calls that this squad had been on. There have been many over the years. One I remember in particular was a plane crash, airliner, in Holcroft, Virginia, outside of Richmond, Virginia. The CAP at that time called us because they knew about type of equipment, plus the expertise that we all have anyway. And we all we went down to this crash. Of course, everyone was DOA. At that time, we had a four-wheel drive international panel truck that used for disasters, plus the Red Cross used it too. And we pulled that down in there, and the FAA came in with their helicopters and so forth, and they set up their headquarters in one of our vehicles. So we were very flattered that we had something that they could utilize down there with all these other units in that vicinity, and had what we had. That's about one other was over in Stafford County. A fellow was digging a well and caved in. I think Harry came and got me on this because that time I weighed about 30 pounds less. And, but I had about a narrow 6 inches to go through to get down to this man about 30 feet down this hole. So they say, well, old Stubb there used to get his son him. Hell, I went down, but I couldn't get through that opening. But we did get him out to help many other people, other squad members. We had to dig him out. Those two calls stand out in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Harry Snellings. Been in the squad since February of '66. When Frank Mills was captain, I still got the card in my pocket they signed. The thing about the old days when we, like I said a while ago, we had 4 crews that ran for Sunday night 6 o'clock to the following Sunday night 6 o'clock. Happened to be on with Mr. Stubbs and Mr. Bays and a couple more gentlemen around. And it was bad enough to get called out every night during the week because we didn't miss a night. They called us out every night, sometimes 2 or 3 times, because there were only 2 or 3 of the 7 or 8 who would really go. And we had lots of times, and I think we helped lots of people. The biggest deal was, you know, when you went to the hospital with one, if you weren't dead, you carried them to the hospital. Sometimes we carried the dead ones up there. Mr. Fred Bays always had to go up on the OB floor and drink coffee, and so a 30-minute call ended up in 3 hours.
Gary was talking all that time.
But we did have a lot of close relations with the squad members at that time, and we did lots of mechanical work around here. Just about everything was done by the crew. It wasn't hired out like a lot of it is now. And I don't know, I think it meant more to us, and the money was in short supply, and so we had to make do with a lot of used stuff, stuff like that. But it's been a real good organization for me. I've been in other organizations, but in my words of my life, going through all the chairs, and getting to be a past captain, and then to get the Sam Perry Award, they're the big highlights of my squad fitness. That's my big highlights. Very good.
I'm Richard Wright, and I came in April of 1956. Fred taught me my first aid, and I think Joe was more than anyone instrumental in getting me to join the rescue squad. To some degree, I'm a second generation member. My father was the first president and one of the organizers of the Colonial Beach rescue squad. And I think, Joe, you knew him and knew that I had watched that squad come into being. So I came in 56, and as others have said, it's one of the highlights of my personal career. In terms of trauma, we all have stories to tell. And probably the one that goes through my mind the most is the night that I got a call that said our captain had been killed in an accident up near Quantico. And I was due to relieve him as captain the next Saturday night. So now one of our deceased life members, Carl Gallahan, and I had to go by and tell Jake Holmes's widow that Jake, our then captain of the rescue squad, had been killed. And that clearly stands out in my mind as one of the most traumatic moments that brought everything we do, if you will, close to home. So lots of memories, and as I think of this group sitting behind us, and as Harry said, and others, the group that's gone on before, just insurmountable amount of contribution to a community. And I think, Dan, I said earlier today at breakfast, life was a little simpler. Clearly the group was very, very close. And very candidly, in Fredericksburg, if you were a member of the rescue squad, you were looked up to by everyone in the community, whether it be judges or preachers or politicians or whatever the case may be. This was the place.
If I may inject in that what Richard just said the night that Jake got killed, Mrs. Holmes didn't want but one person that she wanted, and she lived in Manassas. And Gene Stubbs and I left here in a heavy snowstorm to get this one person, a lady that lived in Manassas. But we had a good trip. We made it, but it was rough, wasn't it?
I forgot all
You forgot all about that line, didn't you?
My name is Joe Adams. I can't remember what year I came in.
It was George Washington had just died.
It was in the late 40s sometime. I can't remember. Sitting back there is a guy that taught me my first aid. And he didn't remember the night when we were talking. But out on 208 at the Eastland Methodist Church. I used to pick him up. He used to pick me up right here, take me out there, teach me first aid, and bring me back to my car. And I'd go on home. But when I was running a lot of night calls, like you say, we were on a week at a time, I had two other buddies myself, Edmund Smith, Kendrick Herndon, and myself. We used to go everywhere. This squad used to have to go all the way down in Caroline County, down the Red Robin, way down number 1 highway, all up in Fauquier County, all the way up almost to Quantico, all the way almost to Colonial Beach. We just went everywhere. Nobody else had any squads around here at that time. If it did, they weren't functioning very well. But, you know, a lot of things that went on that people today can't believe, but we did an awful lot of good. And I'm really proud that I've been a member of this squad and elected to life membership. Thank you.
Did I say something about Joe? Because I give him a hard time and he always wants to whip me. But I'd like to give Adele his due. Way back before I really was in the squad very much, this man ran a Joe's snack bar downtown, him and Gertie. And Kendrick Herndon was up the street in a clothing store. And how many hours and hours and hours and days that they left their job to run squad calls in the daytime because there was no one else. And I mean, you know, he hadn't said anything about it, Richard hadn't, but all these guys know what they did. I mean, they were the Sam Perrys before Sam Perry retired. And I mean, the business is, I know when, you know, when lacking, but Gertie picked up the slack and whoever was working with, you know, him with it, but that credit goes, you know, a long ways back because they did it for years and years and years. They were the daytime people. And I just like for people to know that because they were. They really were.
Thank you, Harry.
You're quite right on that, Harry. If you ever on Caroline Street and saw this white thing fly in the air, that was Joe Adams' apron. He's on a smart
That's right. Exactly right.
Well, I'm gonna revert back one more minute if I might. As he said, you know, I used to run out that snack bar with my apron still on. Went on a call one day, and when we got to the emergency room, we had a German doctor up there. He was an intern. And this bullet was working. And I walked in there, he said, "What's the man doing with the butcher jacket on? What's he doing with the butcher jacket on?" She said, "He's answering a squad call." He said, "He ain't no butcher, he runs a sandwich shop."
My name is John Root Thomas. Always got to put the nickname in there so everybody know who I am. I joined in 1977. A little bit, not quite as long as the rest of them here. And it was, when we first started there, of course, they beat me at home, and I wasn't in the squad, I was like a week, 2 weeks. They called me up, the Root said, "We got a call." "Where we going?" "We're going to Richmond." I said, "What are we going to Richmond for?" Well, at the time, we was taking the pregnant women to Richmond at the time, and that was always rude. Richmond, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning, you get a call, got another one, got to go down to Richmond. Of course, now they've stopped all that. They don't take them down anymore. And doing all these calls, you always get a favorite customer. You know, you have your regular calls. Darryl and me had one called Cecil. Whenever we get a call on Cecil, we knew it was going to be a trip. This guy was sort of bedridden, and he was doing it, but this guy really, every once a month, every 6 months, something like that, he would call us up. They didn't have to give us an address, just mention his name, we knew where we were going to. But it's really a joy just to be a member of this organization, and the time and the experience you put into it, and just the service that you can give back to the community. And I've just thoroughly enjoyed it the years I've put into it.
My name is Kevin Dillard, and I came into Rescue Squad in 1977 as a junior Rescue Squad member. And this Rescue Squad has always been a leader in this area as far as being well respected and being the first in a lot of things. And I appreciate the Rescue Squad having the junior Rescue Squad, because that allowed me to get in at an early age and become involved and move up through the chairs. And like Ruth was mentioning, I also remember the times when the hospital relied very heavily upon us to transport patients to higher level facilities like down in Richmond. And it'd be nothing for us to take 2 and 3 transports in the middle of the night from Fredericksburg to Richmond and be up all night long, obviously, and then have to go to work the next day. And also, we used to have the horn, like was mentioned earlier, to notify the rescue squad members that we had calls. The big foghorn over top of the fire department would blow 3 times to let us know we had a rescue squad call. And in addition to that, one of the local radio stations used to play a commercial every time we'd have a radio call. And right in the middle of a radio broadcast, you'd hear this horn blow 3 times, and they'd say, you know, this particular insurance company reminds all rescue squad members that the horn has sounded. And that way we were able to respond to the rescue squad building and go on calls. And another thing about our rescue squad that stands out in my mind is how we've been the first in a lot of things. And one thing that we did here is we started the first dive team. Some of our members got together and went to Northern Virginia and took training classes, and then later even went to Pennsylvania to finish their training, and came back and started the first scuba diving team in the entire area. And neighboring counties and jurisdictions relied real heavy upon us. Anytime there was a drowning or a water rescue, they'd call us, and it'd be nothing for us to travel up to an hour away to go do a water call. So I'm very proud to be a part of this group, because we have some real good leaders, and this squad has led the entire rescue movement around the state.
My name is Aubrey Meredith, and I'm happy to be here with everybody. And, I lived with Warren McGee, who was a life member back in the early days, and Warren talked me into joining the rescue squad, which I did, and today you see the results of it. I'm here.
Now, Aubrey, do you remember, I guess the first year after I came in the squad, you were secretary, and they said it's time to have a new secretary. I think after that, Sam took it and kept it for a number of years. And Aubrey said, now, Richard, there's nothing to this job. Simple as ABC. By the way, can you come by the house? I need to give you some material. And I needed a truck to carry away the boxes of the records, and had to hire a secretary to try to do all the work. So I thank you, Aubrey, for that simple approach to the secretary's job.
I'm glad I didn't lose a friend, and
No, you didn't.
thank you all for listening.
My name is Donald T. Hicks. I came in the squad from the junior squad. I don't know just when it was when I joined the junior squad, but when I got of age, I went through all the ranks in that, passed captain of the junior squad, came in the senior squad in November 1963. Carl Gallahan was the captain. And I've got his card in my pocket right now where I joined. Like some of them told you, we had 4 duty squads, probably about 10 people on each squad, a total of 40 members. And each one would come on Sunday nights at 6 o'clock and go off the next Sunday nights at 6 o'clock. So we served 1 week at a time, with nighttime calls and everything. We didn't have any paid people. It was all men. And like some of them said, it was 2 or 3 out of that group that you could depend on to go on the call. The rest of us wouldn't answer the phone or wouldn't help at all. But through the thick and thin, we got through all of it, and I'm proud to be a member of this organization. I went through all of the trials of officers in this organization, captain in 1969, and enjoyed being associated with it.
I might add something that Donald's not going to tell about himself. I think he's the oldest member of this squad that's ever been captain of the junior squad, captain of the senior squad, and captain of the state junior squad.
That's pretty good.
I'm Gerald Barrett. I came into the squad in '66. Back then, we used to, I can remember, we used to make our own bandages and have to roll them, the slings and the gauzes and everything. And one call that I remember, and I think Pat went on that call with me when he was a junior member. I was here at the building. The call
Wait a minute,
came.
Joe. Junior members wasn't allowed to go on call.
It's only called you didn't go on.
I was here at the building, and the call came in, and they just said get a squad up on 17 at I think it was Timberlake Service Station. And I think Frank was here at the time, and I think he was the captain. And he was getting ready to go to work to the plant, I believe. And he said, Gerald, why don't y'all just slip on up there and see what's going on. And we did, and it was head-on collision. I think it was 5 children and 2 women, and I think 2 or 3 died in an accident. And, we got there, and it was a big mess. And, we got on the radio and yelled for some help. It didn't take long for them to get up there, but I tell you, for a while there, it was a little scary.
Well, I remember going on a call with Gerald one time. We pulled up in the yard, and there was a double-barrel shotgun sticking around a tree. Gerald jumped out of the ambulance and beat me back out on the highway before I could get out.
Fred wanted to know what was going on. I said, I'll tell you after a while.
Okay, my name's Wayne George. I came to the squad in June of 1962, the senior squad. Before then, I think it was 57, I joined the junior squad, which had been started by the Kiwanis Club in Janesville High School. And Louis Spicer was our advisor from the senior squad. And the junior squad at that time, about the only thing we did do was man the clinic in James Monroe and took first aid classes, which as it turned out was all right, because in 5 years, when I got old enough to join the senior squad, I had all my classes and everything and could come on in. Talking about exciting calls and everything, it's It's a lot. I know all of us have been through a lot. One that comes to my mind is my good friend Ike Middleton. Now, one Saturday we were here and we had a call up in Falmouth somewhere, and we jumped in an ambulance and went on down William Street, took a left on Princess Anne, and all of a sudden Ike started hollering, "My God, pull over! My God, pull over!" I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Pull over." Stopped the ambulance and looked, and someone had been able to pick up some chairs and forgot to unload them. We had an ambulance full of chairs. So we put them sitting on the service station and unloaded the chairs and went on. But these things happen, but I really enjoyed my association with the squad and found it very fulfilling.
Yeah, I remember when Wayne was captain, he called me up one Sunday and said, Pat said, "Come over to the squad building, I got an important job for you today." He said, "Can you do it?" I said, "Yeah, Wayne, I'll help you." So I got over to the squad building, they were having a bicycle race and they wanted the ambulance to follow along. I got to drive Wayne around so they could see me.
My name's Steve Ennis, and I joined the Junior Rescue Squad in about 1968, and the seniors in 73. Served as captain in the juniors the same year that A.C. Meredith was captain of the senior squad, and then come up to the senior squad captain's chair. Just a correction on not taking anything away from Danny, but also the other person I remember that served all the way through was Darrell, who served as captain of the juniors and the seniors, and then also with the state president. The only thing I served as, ironically, in the state was a chaplain. And I guess even worse than that is following my chair as chaplain in the state association was Eddie Allen. We did have control at that time, but I guess as far as the exciting calls and so forth, or things that have occurred, I remember really being very active in the junior rescue squad, and as we said, the juniors never ran any calls. Of course, I was there when Sam was very active and so forth, and we weren't allowed to run calls officially, and the only problem was when no one else was around, Sam always assumed that he was a captain, and so we ran a lot of calls. One of the other things you weren't allowed to do in the junior rescue squad was drive a vehicle. And of course, one day Sam takes me out to, says, "Come on, jump in the vehicle," and we go over to the Chevrolet place. He says, I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "Well, you got to drive this vehicle back." And so not being real happy about that, because I knew that Harry was out there somewhere. So I drove that vehicle back as a junior member and almost ran the ditch 3 times, and I saw one of them orange state trucks. I guess as far as exciting calls, I do remember one time going down to Richmond and so forth, and the doctor told us before you leave, if you're not going to get down there in a hurry, no use even leaving with this child. So I took him at his word, and back then we used to do things that we certainly wouldn't do today, and so forth, and probably made it from this hospital to that hospital in about 35 minutes, if I remember correctly, or 40 minutes, from door to door, and of course paid the toll at the same time. Ran through the toll booth and threw him the quarter at 60 miles an hour. And there was Harry again, because about 2 weeks later we got a letter from the state advising that the rescue squads no longer had to pay the toll, but they would appreciate them slowing down to a safe speed coming through the toll booths. And the only thing I remember was, as soon as we got the letter, the first thing that Harry did as captain is he walked up to me and said, "What the hell did you do now?"
You talk about that toll booth. When I was captain, got a complaint about somebody going through the toll booth too fast. Went back, checked on the record, see who it was. Rolling over.
Which one, when it rolled?
Oldest man.
My name is Pat O'Connell. I joined the rescue squad in 1968. I was a member of the junior rescue squad before that, and I think I'm probably the only one left that won the state trophy one year, left on the team that won it. I used to work over at Sears Roebuck back when they had the horn, and after the horn went off a few times, they couldn't get anybody. They'd call over at Sears because we had about 10 people that worked in the Sears that ran squad calls. I enjoyed my time with the rescue squad.
And we used to have an event every year, either an oyster roast or a shrimp feast. And one of the biggest arguments in a meeting would be whether we were going to have oysters or shrimp. It would always be about an even vote, and it would come down to maybe one person voting, and that person didn't want to vote because he knew if he voted one way, the others would be mad. If he voted the other way, the others would be mad. So that was one of our big events, and I really, like I said, I really enjoyed working with everybody, and it was really an honor to be a member of this squad. Thank you.
My name is Floyd Taylor, past captain of the squad. Joined the squad in 1970, and really appreciate the opportunity of being able to join this organization, belong to it. Fred Bays, as we all call him, the old wooden Indian, I used to work with him in that Pennsylvania plant. I think he was instrumental in getting me into the squad. Of course, I think my wife blamed me for it. Anyway, and she wasn't very happy at first, but later on she joined. Quite a few interesting calls, along with a lot of them in here. One of the calls I went on one night, one of the past captains and life members was with me, Jim Deal. We had a record at Goshen Church, head on collision. We got there and 13 people involved, 4 or 5 of them still trapped, called for help, and didn't take long, they were there. And I think Fred Bays and Francis Curtis came from Lady Smith. They was on the way back from Richmond, got there in about 5 minutes, I think. The ambulance was so hot we didn't even cut off when they got there.
Francis took the driving.
Blame it on them. And quite a mess. And had a lot of good help. And another exciting call I went on. We had an OB call one night. And ended up, we found a baby in a bucket over in Mayfield. So we've had some exciting times, really enjoyed it, working with the people. One of the toughest things I had to explain was on a squad call one night. When we used to run from home, get called. And I was over on call, and then the fire department changed shifts down there, and they called me again, and I was out. I got back home, my wife asked me where have I been. I got called for a squad call. So it has been exciting. Enjoyed it.
Can I say one word?
No, you've never been able to say one
Mr. Taylor, particularly Mr. Taylor and myself, have run them squad calls together for years and years and years and years till this past year. Jackie joined at a later date, but way back when there was no Spotsylvania Rescue Squad, we went over on Old Blockhouse Road one night. This young lady was in distress to have a young one. So when we got there, she met us at the door. She was about 300 pounds. And we said, well, where's the lady that's going to have the baby? She said, I'm her. We said, well, are you still pregnant? She said, no, sir. He's out on the couch. So we go in, and we kind of nervous a little bit. And so we tied the cord and cut the cord and cleaned the baby up and all that stuff. And we get her to walk over to the ambulance because we couldn't carry her. And bringing her on in, we getting some names and got her name and all the stuff and said, now, what is your husband's name, ma'am? So, well, he's dead. We said, when did he die? She died 2 years ago. So we brought her on in, but the funniest part of it, and I know Floyd knows what I'm going to say, while we were there in the house, you know, we had all this elaborate equipment like a little first aid kit, and we took the scissors and cut the cord between the ties of the shoestrings that we had, and we forgot and left the scissors. And I bet you he and I have been by there 500 times since, and all I can say is, you want to go in there and see if you can find a pair of scissors? But I thought that was kind of funny. She met us another night with a shotgun at the back door, same woman, you know, 2 years after that. That was fun.
Barry, that's the only patient you ever walked over to the ambulance, isn't it?
The first one, yeah.
The first one.
First one.
My name is Darrell Labby. I joined the junior squad in '65 and became a member of the senior squad in January '71. And I guess you can tell from the stories here, there's a lot of emotional roller coasters in being in the rescue squad. And on one of the lighter sides of the call, I went on, assisted this lady in the delivery of her baby, and luckily everything went fine. And a few days later, I was at work, and some people came in the store and said, "The couple out front want to see you." And so I went out to the front of the store, and the lady came in with her baby and her husband, and they thanked me and everything. And that's really what it's all about. Just getting thanks once in a while, and it really makes you feel good. I was as proud as they were.
I like to tell one on Darrell. Bragg Hill Townhouses hadn't been open very long, and one Sunday we got a call up there. There was an OB up there. So Darrell and I, we go did the bobbing on up there and go in the front door, and we said, "Where's the lady?" Said, "She's upstairs in the bathroom." Darrell said, "Well, I'll stay down here and help these kids." And so I go upstairs. The lady's had a miscarriage, about 18 to 20 weeks, in the stool. And I said, "Darrell, come on up and help me get her cleaned up and packed and, all this stuff. "Oh, no, you take care of the baby and the mother. I'll give you, So I go down there to the stool and get the little baby out and wrap him up and get the mother all prepared and the pants back on, walk her down the steps. And Darrell was ready to go then. I done it all, He wasn't coming up them steps, though. He wasn't coming up them steps.
While we're having babies, I had one too.
Well, I tell you, that's a first.
About 4 o'clock in the morning, he had, kindergarten and myself got called out. It was a Greyhound bus wreck at Massaponax Creek. So we got in, the bus was sitting upright, wasn't no wreck. We asked the driver, said, "What's wrong?" He said, "A woman in the back's having a baby." And I mean, she was all the way in the back on the long seat. So we tried to deliver the baby there. She said, "We got time, get her to the hospital." So Kendrick and I got her, and we bring her up through that aisle. People were still asleep, not even knowing what was going on. Stumbling over that toes, out dropped the baby. In the floor, and cut his little head up here. We picked it up, cleaned it up, wrapped it up in a blanket, and I laid it up in the bus driver's seat. And we got her over there and straightened her, and got the baby and put it in there with her. And the bus driver said, "This is the first time this has ever happened to me." Just like it happens to every other bus driver.
I always think of Richard Wright when my first delivery. We delivered over 90 Pine Grill. Remember that? Way back.
Yeah.
Later, we delivered when we got up there. That was my first baby delivery. I always think that's my first one.
Key Howard and I went on July the 4th. I guess we're 1950. Hot as the devil. Right here in town, and we went upstairs. It was real hot, and the baby was laying between the legs of the mother. And she's laying back smoking cigarettes. She says, "I don't want to go to the hospital. I just want you to cut the cord." We said, "Well, the baby looks okay. We're doing fine." So we called Dr. Harris, and he came by and took care of it.
I had the same experience up Walker's Inn. Everybody knows where Walker's Inn.
You want to go back dancing? I remember that.
Charles Ungerbow and I went up there on the ice. Boy, it was an ice storm. And got up there, and the lady, "Listen, what are you?" One of those trailers. "What is wrong with you? What do you matter?" "I got a pain in my stomach." So I said, "You mind if I examine you?" And she said, "No." I throwed the covers back, and I laid the little baby. Baby had already been born, weighed about 3 pounds, something like that. Most of us did. But we brought them on in.
I guess the most gruesome one I ever saw on the end of Wolf Street. Rats had eaten the baby's face part. Anyway, I know AC may have been on that call. Were you on that too, Cliff? It was on a Saturday morning. And about a 2-month-old baby. And then during the night, the mother heard the baby crying. So she said, "Well, we're going back to sleep." And she got up daylight the next day. She called it. Brought over. The rats had eaten half the cheek away, and the bone shone and part of the eyeball gone. And there was no blood or anything. They sucked it all up. That was a gruesome one.
Imagine.
My name is Rowan Oates. I came in the squad in either 56 or 57. I was captain of the squad in 1972. I started the Perry Trophy Memorial. I can remember a lot of good things about the squad. I can remember how tough it used to be to get members to help during the day to come out and answer calls. I used to bring my daughter down. I was babysitting then because Carolyn, she was working. She was a nurse at the hospital. I'd bring her down. We'd get a call. I'd strap her in the front seat, take her on the call with me. And she'd bring her little doll with me. Joe Adams used to steal her doll.
Amen.
And she still remembers that right today.
Yeah, I used to worry that child to death with that doll baby.
But there's so many nice things I can remember about the rescue squad, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. Thank you.
I'm Bill Richards. I came into the squad on April Fool's Day, 1958. I was the first junior member to come into the squad, and I think a lot of the senior members were apprehensive back in those days. Fred was our mentor, and Fred called me up the first application I put in the squad back then. He said, "Boy, you didn't make it." I said, "What am I going to do?" He said, "Put her in again." So I put the application in next month, and I had to wait 30 days, I think it was back then. Came up again, and I got in. And probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. It was just a close-knit bond of men here in those days. We didn't have any ladies to assist us. We had the ladies auxiliary. I was privileged to be sent down to Richmond to the Jewish Community Center with Jerry Allman and I think Steve Ennis. We organized the underwater rescue and recovery team, and one of the calls that happened actually wasn't a call. We were on standby up at Stafford High School on Route 1, where Stafford used to be. And it was Key Howard and Garland Bays and myself, and we were enjoying a good football game, and I was standing up, and boys ran the ball right down the sideline, and all the spectators stood up in the grandstand. And I happened to turn around just about that time to hear the screams and see the terror on their faces as the grandstands collapsed. Yes, and Garland and Key, of course, started first aid right away. I went to the radio, driving, I remember now, it was the old number 4, 1959 Ford. It was hot as could be. And I called into the firehouse. I told them what had happened. I said, "Send everything you can out here." Well, on Friday night, it was usually a pretty good crew sitting around the squad building there. And by the time I'd done that, we loaded up 2 patients in, and I took the first ambulance in. As I came through Falmouth and was getting ready to cross the bridge, all the ambulances and crash trucks out of our squad building were peeling around the corner with those red lights on. Pretty sight I ever saw, because an awful lot of people, I think between 25 and 30 people had to be taken to the hospital that night. And then the way that everybody used to work together, we had firefighters here in town and rescue personnel went to the emergency room to assist the doctors and nurses for incoming traffic, and then we turn around and whip right back out to Stafford High School again, get another load, work to do the first aid. Back then we all had advanced first aid, and many were instructors. I guess Fred and Bill Billingsley and J. Edmund Smith, I guess, taught more than anybody in the whole area as far as first aid goes. And it was just, I spent 12 years here, and I moved to Virginia Beach in 1970, December of 1970. And I've never had a closer bond with a group of people in my life since then.
Yeah, Fred, several people here have mentioned about you teaching them first aid, and as all of us think back, you clearly have taught just an insurmountable, really, number of first aid classes. Do you have any idea how many people you perhaps have taught first aid over these years?
No, really I don't, Richard. For soon after I got in, I became in the squad back in '49. Within a couple of years, I'd become a first aid instructor. I taught this area all the time. For 10 years, the student practical nurses at Mary Washington Hospital, I taught all of them. And Bill Billingsley and I traveled to Orange and taught the group up there that organized the first rescue squad. For years, I kept a list of them. And then when EMT came out, I qualified as an EMT instructor, and I taught EMT up to 2 years ago. I dropped out on that. At one time, Fredericksburg was the only place we had EMT instructors. for originally Jimmy Owens, Bill Billingsley, Edwin Smith, and Junior Hicks and myself went to Fairfax to qualify for EMT instructors. Well, Bill and Jimmy and myself were the only three that made it. Junior and Edwin didn't make it on that round. And I was one of the first CPR instructors in the area and CPR instructor trainer. But at this time, I've let the younger ones start teaching. I've let all the instructor certifications expire. I'm still an EMT, but I let the other.
You and I went on, right?
Yeah.
Bill.
You went with us. Bill went too. On that.
Well, you know, the breakfast this morning reminds me of some of the things we used to do. It was Saturday morning, wasn't Fred? We'd have those fish breakfasts.
Garland used to cook salt.
Yeah, his brother, baby brother used to cook the saltfish. Man, we used to have a great time. And then the ladies, of course, they'd have dinner for the squad. We really enjoyed all of it. We had a great time.
I think it's amazing, though, how much the EMT stuff has changed. Fred's talking about how many classes he taught and so forth. I remember taking it, and the one thing he taught was vital signs was blood pressure, pulse, and respiration. Somewhere along the line, Harry got involved in it, determined that vital signs were blood pressure, pulse, respiration, and can you walk to the ambulance?
Low blow.
At least if it was in that order.
Boy, too much blood pressure and the respiration. Then you walk, you know.
Now, you talk about the territory that we covered. In my years, there was a rescue squad at Pindaw in south of Alexander. Culpeper had a rescue squad. There was a commercial ambulance out of Richmond. I've gone to the end of Shirley Highway, which is crossed Aquan Creek, and answered accident calls. Our squad has crossed the Dalvern Bridge to Maryland at the other end of the Dalvern Bridge. Warren McGee and myself one night went to Colonial Beach to pick up somebody from an automobile accident. We had moonshine. We went down there. From there, we had to carry the patient to medical college. By the time we got back, the sun was shining. And Tappahannock, we'd go that far down, all through Spotsylvania, Caroline, up into Culpeper in Orange County. We covered all this territory back to begin with. Where at the present time, there's 25 to 30 squads covering the same area that Fredericksburg covered at that one time. And the equipment we had when I got in the squad back in 1949, if you look on the board out there, the first picture shows a bunch of men there. It's a Pontiac station wagon, an old the Green Hornet was a 12-cylinder LaSalle ambulance, and a Chevrolet panel truck. That was equipment in one boat, and it was behind the old firehouse down there. There was a cinder block building, there was 2 bays in it. That was where we operated from until this building was built here, and we moved into it. The longest call, I guess probably Jake Holmes and myself made it. We went to Cape May, New Jersey, and brought Henry Coley back. One of the people that worked at the plant went up there and had blood clot. So we went up to transport him back home. The man is still alive, and he's instrumental in getting the mechanics from the plant to help install this paneling in here and the steel work, and a lot of the work that was done in this building was done. The mechanics used to work out at the FMC plant.
I can truthfully say I worked at FMC too, but I didn't belong to the squad at the time. But that was one of the best friends that this squad's ever had, was FMC.
Sure was.
Because if we wanted something, we asked for it, we got it.
Everything that was always done around here wasn't always done exactly legal.
Edit that. According to Hoyle. According to Hoyle.
Yeah, right, yeah. New terminology.
Of course, this was before my time in the squad. But it's my understanding from some of the older fellows around here that they had purchased the steel for this building. The FMC donated all of the I-beams, which that was no problem, but all the bar joists, there's steel bar joists here, there, and on the roof, they were all being made in Florida, if I remember the right state. And there's a fellow down the road, Mr. George Wade, who everybody knows, had a lumber manufacturer, and he had agreed to go down and pick up the steel. Well, it so happened that it was a little bit illegal to haul all that steel on one trailer. But some of these wise guys ran and made arrangements through Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida to look the other way when the Weight Lumber Company truck came up. So all that steel for this building came out of Florida on one truck, very much overloaded and probably overlinked the whole 9 yards. So that's the only thing I know was ever done illegally, right?
Right.
What was the original layout of this building? I know that they've added on throughout the year.
This section right here, the layout on the end where the crash truck's at was not here, and all of this stuff built on out here in the front. Here was not here.
And where were the bunk rooms?
Right in here, you had a couple of rollaway beds at one time.
That was the first one, rollaway beds.
That's the first bunk room was here.
How about the TV room and the radio room?
Underneath the steps.
Yeah.
Where the supplies at.
We built the addition out front in '79 because we went into modular ambulances, which is all we have now, really, and they wouldn't fit in the building. I mean, you could get them in here, but, there's nothing left, so we added that bay on it down in '79. My understanding in '60, they put the one at that for the crash truck. This one was '54, I believe, when they built the original building for it.
And in taking your pictures there, I think you ought to, this lady over here by the flag is the only lady in this organization that's been a captain, only female captain of this organization. She's done a good job. She's been here for years.
She's right.
Quit hiding behind the flag.
She's a little bashful.
Come on, Jackie.
She's bashful. Floyd, Harry don't agitate.
She's the one that we left one night here. We had a bad wreck on Princess Anne Street a few years ago. Floyd's wife, we all stayed, got up and had a bad call on Princess Anne Street. Dr. Wheeler's in front of Dr. Wheeler. So we get up, we go jump the ambulance. Jackie gets in the back, and I think I pull out. Floyd shuts the door, and we go on around there and open the door. I said, "All right, Jackie." And Jackie ain't there. We left her here. So she knows us short. We had a bad wreck and she wasn't even on the scene. She went back to the call sheets, I believe, and so we left her here. She didn't get to ride.
One of the questions here is about the first lady in the rescue squad. I don't remember the girl's name. As a female that lived around Lake of the Woods, come down. Oh, she had all the qualifications and everything else. Put in an application. She was voted in. Then we started checking on her certifications of all the things she's qualified to do. She resigned real quick. I don't remember who the next lady was that became active in the squad.
Back in '74, the year I was captain, we voted, the first lady that we voted out, and the newspaper got a hold of it, and they crucified us.
You mean we did vote her?
Didn't vote her in, right.
Now, actually, when most of these people right here now got in, if you got 3 no votes, you didn't get it. And who was talking about they put in the second application here? Bill Richards. There's some other people in here that put in more than 2 applications to get in back in the years past.
They just wore you down.
Yeah. They were, well, they were devoted people, but we usually get some people that, no matter who it is, they'll vote against them.
Well, back then, we didn't have the 40 numbers according to charter that we could have.
Well, when I come in, it's just 25.
And I don't think the law could have gotten in when you got down to 38 and it had 2 vacancies and everybody had somebody else in mind of coming in. And if I saw an awful lot of good people were voted against because you just couldn't get in here. It was a tight-knit group. And once you got here, you had it made, but before then.
Well, I think the fellow that wrote Camel's Back was when Floyd Taylor was about ready to go out of captain, and I was getting ready to come in, and we had some prospective minorities put in, and they had not had luck getting in. And we got meeting with the town EEO people, the NAAC people and all, and I was just about ready to have to go to court. And we changed the 3 blackball system to the majority of 2/3, and that's the only way we got, And then we started getting some minorities and then women right on through that. But at one time with a 3-ball blackball system, like I say, it was just if you got in, you were some kind of lucky. You really were.
Did you have to have training to begin with, or would the squad provide the training like they do today?
You had to have it before you come in.
Would they pay for advancement in your training, or was there any advancement?
Well, you take your training at that time. The first aid book was about 50 cents.
Advanced first aid all we had.
And you didn't have to pass like a state course to do that, or?
No, just about all the training was done right here at the building and at a training meeting. so everybody got the same training.
When EMT come out, at first, a doctor had to okay the instructions. Well, one of our medical advisors told Bill and myself, you go ahead and teach it, I'll sign it.
Just a standard first aid.
So that was EMT then.
Oh,
So
standard
that's-
first aid is all that's required.
When
It is, right?
Yeah, prior to 58.
56 when I...
58 was when I got Bible right home, and George Snelling signed and gifted me. I taught advanced first aid to the rescue squad. That's when the training went from standard to advanced, 1958.
Seemed like to me the only, in the way of CPR training, there was no mouth-to-mouth or heart compressions. It was Hunger
It was
Nielsen,
68.
back pressure, arm
It was
lifts.
68 before you
And
went to
we had
CPR.
those old Stevenson automatic resuscitators, which you put them on a patient, hold it, it just go. You could pump them for 2 days as long as the oxygen held up, but no mouth to mouth, no heart compressions. The strict was Hunger Nielsen and back pressure, arm lift. The other two things were taught on the floor. You lay them on the floor and lift, pushing on the back, kick up on the arms, and they were very primitive, but it was all we had. No mouth to mouth. So
The only bad thing about those old Stevenson resuscitators, if you carry it very far, you need the oxygen.
You need the
You tell me about it. We're talking about snow today. We didn't get it. I remember we had a lot of snow on the ground, and Frank Dillers and I were called out to a heart attack way out in the county. Don't remember which county. And we got there, and we couldn't get the ambulance into the long lane, which was probably 300 yards from the highway, back to the house where a man had a heart attack. So Frank said, I'll take the blankets, you take the resuscitation. Well, we packed that on in, got the man ready, built him back up, got his color good. Had to go get the stretcher. So we brought the stretcher, went back, got the stretcher, brought that in. Now how are we going to get him through about 18 inches of snow and carrying him back? Farmer said, oh, I'll hook my tractor up to the wagon. Well, he didn't tell us it was the fertilizer wagon. And we put that stretcher in the fertilizer wagon through 18 inches of snow and drove that thing back to the ambulance, where we took him and put him in the ambulance and came back down.
I'd forgotten that bit.
One time I remember is old Rescue 19. It must have been about 1967, because we were building the boxes ourselves inside of it, and we had not gotten them covered with any vinyl or anything. It was just plywood, the box on this side, and the stretcher was here, and the box it was all plywood. And Francis Curtis and myself got a call in snow about that deep down to Walton Point, down off of 600. Went down there and delivered a baby, brought her back. I had to winch one car out the road to get by going down. Got the lady, brought her in, and got her to the hospital. And as soon as we got there, we got a call to go to Pace. And going all the way out 610 and 612, going on out, it was snow that deep. And that thing in four-wheel drive, I was driving scared to death. Pretty much tied up as brand new. And we got it to almost to the call, within a couple miles, and the thing just dies. 5 o'clock in the morning, snowing so hard you couldn't see. We said, what do we do now? And all we could do, we tried to call headquarters on the radio, but the battery was too dead. So we'd go beat on somebody's door that time of morning. You say you're going to get shot up in that neck of the woods. So called down, and they said, yeah, we'll call the captain. We said, well, tell him just keep on coming till it runs into us. And about a half hour later, here come old Frank Mills and one of them old GMCs, flying through the same track we had, and he gets around front, and I hook the winch cable to him, and he pulls us up to a store. And then we go on and do the call. I don't know what it was. This Paces, froze to death. I'm telling you, the snow was that deep.
I just got off work 7 o'clock, I had to come by you.
Come all the way up there.
Run into
We pulled it all the way up, and it was brand spanking new. They all had bad tires, and that's what was wrong with it.
Well, some of them, we've been talking about what this Harris said, plywood shoring. I don't know, I haven't heard anybody say, we would buy a station wagon back then and convert it ourselves.
Right.
Donnie Hicks and all would do the electrical work, Pete Smith, and anything was done, everything was converted by us.
We're talking about these calls getting in trouble. Got a wreck down on 639 at Ladysmith. AC and I went down there. We went down the wrong road. We went on down, circled around, come out way down the road, come back up. Alternator went out. AC was pointing a flashlight out the door trying to see where we was going. We finally got back to a place at Ladysmith and called in. Rudy come down picked up the patient and come on back.
I heard Frank talking about the equipment and so forth, and changes in equipment over the years. And I guess I can take the credit for ushering in a major change in equipment around here, and that's when we had the carryalls at one point. We'd pretty much gone to vans, and we still had one carryall left, and I was capable of getting rid of that at Fall Hill and Pelham. When a fella come over the side road and ran in the side of it, total lost it. So I pretty much ended the careers of the carrier.
I can remember one call to Richmond. It was the day before 95 opened up, and I decided to run 95. It was on a Saturday, and I didn't have any traffic at all. So I set it over on 100.
I remember running to Richmond after they had the stationary radar, and we knew exactly where they were at the Ladysmith crossover and down around Ashland. We knew where they were going to be sitting, and I know I did, and I know some others did too. We on a trip to Richmond, we could run fast if we wanted to. So when we come over those hills where those radar crossing, where we would go like 115 miles an hour if they'd run it fast, and you'd see the troopers running for the corner and almost hear them say, "Oh hell!" But Sam would drive back as fast as he drove down. As he drove down, it didn't make any difference.
Before we got those 50 and 51 Pontiac station wagon, we had a 46 Maroon Pontiac station wagon. Remember that, Fred? That was a good station wagon. Good room you could get these two patients in there.
Matter of fact, that triggers a thought if you think back. Each time you evolved from a different generation of vehicle, it took forever to get the squad unified. I remember when we went to the carryalls from the station wagon. I mean, we'd sit up here for hours and hours and argue over whether the carryall or the Suburban or whatever they were called in those days was going to be better than these Ford or Pontiac station wagons that would do 130. Oh, they do? That hasn't changed.
Richard, do you remember the old Plymouth we had that was extended? It had push button controls on it.
Yeah.
There was a certain man in here that never did like it. He would get her in high gear and then push it to
I remember it
low
well.
gear.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the
Try to-
cleaning business, was he?
Try to ruin the vehicle.
Richard, they're going to a tractor trailer next.
Yeah, almost got it. Yeah.
Field hospital.
So, John, there's been a lot of calls mentioned different things and that. I've got one that stayed with me, a humorous call. Most humorous call I went on. George Snellington and I was on Saturday night. We got a call down 17, way down the country, high-class home. A woman had fallen down and cut her head. And we got down there and knocked on the door, and this maid, high-class maid, came to the door and said, "Well, I'm glad y'all's here." And they'd had a party. It was three, a man and his wife, and this school teacher, elderly woman from up north somewhere, had come down and visit. And all three of them were drunk as a skunk. And she fell down the steps and busted bounces and cut her head. And so we got on the bed, and we had put two bandages on her head, and every time we put one on, she'd pull it off. And George was bending over before we crossed over the bed, put the third one on this woman that, in a jolly way, pulled up her nightgown just high enough so she could kick. And just gave George a friendly kick in the butt. He turned around and said, "Lady, if you do that again, you're going to be laying on this bed." She wouldn't keep that bandage on, though.
I can remember sometime down here one night when we first got into the squad, every time that tone would go off, maybe you just dying in an ambulance, jump right into it and go. And it was about 4 or 5 of us down there one night. And we had a couple of new ones in there. And of course, anytime you get an automobile accident, then they go crazy down here. And they all want to jump into it. So this guy takes off, and I don't know if y'all remember, early morning night. He takes off, jumps into the ambulance, he's going to the scene, we look around, nobody's with me, by himself. So we had to send another ambulance after him to flag him down. He was going on the call by himself. I don't know what he thought he was going to do that. But when he got there, he's by himself. So that's what with Steve Irmo, he took off driving by himself. Steve Irmo, I don't think he went in here too long, he moved on.
We had this one family here in the Potlow area. About once a month you get a call, Mama's had a heart attack. And you'd go and get her and then get ready to bring her into the hospital. about 6 others were rolling, can we ride in? All they wanted was transportation to Fredericksburg. You'd see them a half hour later walking up and down Main Street. Mama hadn't had no heart attack.
The one that we had over there got so bad, and she brought all the kids in, the taxi would take them home, that Francis Curtis was captain, and he got it voted and made a proclamation, something that the doctor would have to call us if we were to go down and get her.
That's right.
And it's right down there below, like it's almost spotless.
Yeah.
But we went out there, and the front steps was so bad on the house that you had to walk up the risers. You couldn't walk up the steps, you could break your leg. You had to walk up the risers. And finally, we told him if it didn't fix the floor and the steps, we wasn't coming back. It was so rotten. And of course, she weighed for 300 pounds. You had her in your arms. You know, you had to have a strong. We caught her those days.
They were talking about the longest call. I transported somebody in Lester Snelling's family up in the Philadelphia area. It was the Campbell guy, Palmer Street, was the artist, in his family too.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I believe I have a record for the shortest call, and I can't remember who was with me. We got a call. I lived down on Weather Road and hauled up here in the ice and snow, and went up. And where's the call? Something 2500 block of Fall Hill Avenue. I said, well, that's right across from my hospital. And it was. The brick house there right across from the hospital. The woman was pregnant, getting ready to have a baby, and wanted to go to the hospital across the street.
Shortest call I ever went on was right here.
But it did make me mad, Joe, that when it first happened, I said, why is all this? I said, the police could have helped walk across the street, what you could have. But this lady was from in the upper part of Stafford. She knew we should go have his baby. She'd come here and got a room. And so I had to say that she was a nice woman. I have to, you know, she did look ahead. I mean, she didn't make you run clean to Stafford and get her.
Got a call one day, got a call to the rescue squad building. Fellow was putting some ceiling tile up there on the second deck there, third deck, and fell and broke his leg. Right here in the squad building. Remember that? Kindergarten night.
The most unusual call that I ever went on was, I was here at the building, and the phone downstairs rang, the cold phone, 3264, I think was the number then. I don't know what it was. But anyway, this guy said, there's a man sick here. Said, would you come down? And said, don't turn on any lights or anything. Just come on down real slow. And I don't know who went on the call, so I took my time. I don't know who went. That's some of the old members. And I saw the guy standing in the yard. When I got there, he was laying. Here a gun was there, and he put the gun to his head and shot himself.
Yeah.
And I don't know who was along, but that was, I can remember that sticking in my mind. And we all knew him real well.
Well, one thing I'm sure a lot of you remember, that when at the firehouse, Mr. Smith, Skipper Barry, and Curtis, Rudy, those, when somebody called for the squad and called there, you didn't give directions. They knew where the person lived if there was anywhere in 2 or 3 counties around there. And a while ago, we was talking about some of the people didn't come out when they called them at home. Skipper Barry didn't give you a chance that day.
No, sir.
Rescue old man, flip. You answered the phone. You answered the phone, hello? Rescue old man, flip. That's it.
That's it. That's all you got.
So you had to come to the building. You couldn't tell him, no, I'm too busy, or this or that.
Lots of times, that even though we weren't on duty, Mr. Smith, Fred's father-in-law, he'd call us even though we weren't on duty. We're not on duty, Smitty. Don't make no difference. You can't get anybody. Come on down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's nothing unusual. There was some in the squad that would go any night, and like Harry and some of the others. So whether you was on duty that week or not, a lot of times you got called. They knew somebody they could get and get quick. And I'd come back home and call Maxine, have the window up and holler out the window. Go on back, they called.
David, you probably have a lot of questions, but Fred triggered one thing that I think would come under the general heading of bragging rights for the Fredericksburg squad, in my judgment. And Fred's already alluded to how much training throughout the state has been given by various members of the rescue squad. And one of his other comments was how far we used to have to make runs. And we all remember those days, and clearly As I mentioned earlier, my father was the first president of the Colonial Beach Rescue Squad, and the first piece of equipment for that rescue squad was that old Chevrolet panel that you mentioned, which you sold to Colonial Beach for $1. And since that time, and I couldn't guess, but clearly, probably, in this area, half of the rescue squads were started by members of this rescue squad. And you might say to some degree it was self-serving, so we didn't have to go to Brokenburg or to Triangle or whatever it may be. Matter of fact, Triangle, we sold the old crash truck, if you remember. And so I think that clearly this squad should, and has every right to be proud of what it's contributed, not just to the local community, but throughout this region, if you will, in getting the other squads started and equipped.
Well, even as far as some of the people went from here, I think Bill and somebody went to Virginia Beach.
Right. Okay, that's a good point. I'd forgotten that.
Tappahannock,
Oh, yeah.
all of these places around Edwin, and, well, go back and Ernie Potman and I met Safely was instructors years ago, Warren McGee, and far away as Virginia Beach, our people have gone and taught groups that started other rescue squads. Before Stafford could get their okay to run, I had to go up there and teach them a CPR class. They took their other training somebody else had taught them, but before the state man would turn them loose, I had to go up there and teach them CPR.
Well, Fred said he and Bill went to Orange and taught those people up there. Well, I remember, like I said, I was in the volunteer fire department. They had a big parade and all because local man, State Senator Pitts, was donating that first ambulance to them. And they had a big parade and all of that. And I forget who the speaker was, and he was just lauding how good the rescue squad was. And all the volunteer firemen up there and some of the patrons, and one of them, I won't call their names in particular, this guy said, how good and great the rescue squad was. And this guy out there said, well, when your house catches on fire, call the rescue squad.
Well, if you remember our first PMC crash truck, we could put out fires.
There was one guy for the reel whole thing.
Sure did.
60 gallons of water. That's right. I'd like to be young enough to deliver it again.
But you know, I see y'all come out now and you got an ambulance and 4 or 5 people jump out. I'll never forget one year, it's convention time, so the crew was kind of light around here. Had a wreck on a Saturday night right at 4 Mile Fork. I drove an ambulance, Ike Milton drove an ambulance, and Wilson Sullivan drove a crash truck. And we got there, one of the patients needed to be aspirated on the way to the hospital, so I drove Ike back to the hospital. And I think Wilson bought one end, and we had to go back and get another one. Anyway, 3 of us had 3 pieces of equipment. We ended up 2 pieces here and 3 of us here, so we had to go back and pick it up. I guess you could buy with that now.
I carried Danny Mitchell on many one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Many one. Many one he had no more training than a crow flying the sky.
Well, the first ambulance, I wrecked right over here on the corner. I had Pinhead Marshall going with me. Going an accident out on Lafayette Boulevard.
Well, like I stated earlier, that y'all had problems in latter years with high crew at daytime. It was the same then that you just could not get people. And we done transportations. That was our biggest problem.
Yeah.
We would have to transport people from their home to the hospital home. And I'm telling you that, you deserved a medal to being a captain to live a year through all of that, I'll tell you.
If you picked up a patient.
They've called me at 3 o'clock in the morning at the plant. We need so-and-so to go to Richmond. And then I have to get on the phone and try to find somebody to go to Richmond.
So if you picked up a patient in an emergency situation, would the patient get to pick where they wanted to go to the hospital, or would you take them to the closest?
No, we would bring them with purpose. That was our
What
A
was
lot of them
Mary?
tried, though. You'd pick them up, and they'd say, well, I'm a veteran, I want to go to the Veterans Hospital. And we'd take them to Murray, Washington.
But going up that way, favorite Marines, we got a flying on Naval Hospital.
Right.
Marines, got a many one up there too.
But in the hospital, I might hurt somebody's feelings, but they unloaded a lot they shouldn't have unloaded in Richmond, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
When we pull in Richmond, they said, well, yes, I'm all from a first aid clinic.
You got
Yeah, but do you remember the first big battle we had, both internally and with the hospital, when we said, from this point forward, if it goes to a hospital out of town, there will be a doctor or nurse go along?
Yeah.
Because I remember being involved in that.
Well, I was involved with that, with Marines on Stafford Wayside. And I mean, I knew the man couldn't live, and everybody else knew he couldn't live. But they said, you gotta go to Quantico, So I told the doctor, I said, you come on. and I'll forget the doctor's name in the emergency room. He said, okay, I'll go with you. So we had got across Fountain Bridge, the man is dead. He said, just turn around, he's dead. I said, no, I can't turn around, I got a designation, I'm going to Quantico. And I kept him tied up back for about 4 hours. He said, y'all go through this all the time? I said, yes, we go through this all the time.
What was the junior squad like years ago? Today we only have about 8 members.
Well, the original junior squad was the Key Club at James Monroe High School. Bill Billingsley and I taught them first aid over here in Dr. Bowling's basement. You take Tip Whitaker, John Cowan, Ernie. Yeah. Well, both of the Thompson boys were in there.
Ernie Donahoe.
Ernie Donahoe and a bunch of them were the original ones that started out. And as whoever was said, I think Bill here, about they run the first aid clinic in high school at that time. They didn't have a nurse on duty, but they knew who they were.
That's basically all we did back
And that, yeah, Wayne back in those days. But that was the original junior rescue squad.
The members couldn't ride on calls with the regular squad?
Not easily. That's why I got voted down the first time.
Yeah, Bill Richards got out, was over here on a shooting on Marlboro Point, and Bill got out there, got to run his mouth on the radio, call home and tell Daddy what happened. Yeah, he almost got shot for it.
You're right, we weren't supposed to run calls, but during the daytime, it was many a time we did. Like I say, Sam Perry's standard routine was, of course, the rule was you had to have the permission of the captain, the first or second lieutenant. And he was always, well, if they're not here, I must be the captain. And that's what we would do. I can remember as far as in the junior squad, one of the things that we did do, it was Darrell, myself, and Eddie, and I can't remember who else. Of course, we couldn't drive. And one weekend we went to go to a state competition down in Petersburg, and we couldn't get anyone to take an ambulance. So at that time I had an old 64 Bonneville Pontiac, and we were able to put an ambulance out of service and loaded up the complete ambulance in that trunk of that vehicle and so forth. And we got down after competition. All the other crews pulled up, or someone backed their ambulance up, and we backed up that old 64 Pontiac, and they kind of thought that was going to be right funny until we opened the trunk and everything was there, and actually come away with first place that time. So.
Back in early '62, there were 3 of us that had been in the junior squad that were 20 years old. And the minimum age at that time to get in the senior squad was 21. So they lowered it to 20 and took Billy Poach, Jack Long, and myself in with like 3 months of each other. Because they needed some help doing the day. We were here anyway.
They went immediately back up 21
That's
after they got used to it.
They realized their mistake.
I guess back, the reason it was so difficult to get someone to answer day calls, but I think 1950, 51 in that area, half the membership worked at the plant, and they couldn't get away.
Well, some of them were shift workers.
Sure,
like,
yeah, true.
Mentor,
Yeah.
John Hubie, and Frank worked shift work. Roland, he worked shift work. Different one. Yeah, Lewis Spicer.
Bill.
Well, Bill was daytime.
Daytime.
We were, yeah, Bill could get away sometimes if something's bad.
I know that FMC, I used to love to go down there when we had disasters and the generating capacity went down. Fred would always make sure he got me and Johnny Cook, somebody to take the generator truck down. Because every time we could go down, we could greatly add to the inventory of wire and lights and accessories because we need them for that one-time operation when they had the big flood and they were afraid the fuel lines were going to be broken coming from the fuel tanks across the plant. But we had to provide lights for that operation, and we had to provide lights in the boiler room, and we needed high volumes of 12-3 rubber-covered wire, like several 250-foot rolls. So it was just a natural thing, you know, when you came out, it was permissible to take the wire with you, and it was, at that time, we was outfitting this generator truck down here with reels and an old crash truck we were putting reels, so, you know, I think it probably the person that hurt the most for FMC to close down and never worked that was me. Because truthfully, that FMC plant, and not only for this rescue squad when I was in Falmouth Fire Department, I knew Fred then, and I knew some other guys. I've seen them bring in people on overtime at FMC to repair something for a fire truck or this rescue squad. Bring them in on overtime on weekends,
Yeah,
to do work, to
weekends, yeah.
repair something, to get an ambulance back on the road or a fire truck on the road.
The
I've seen
best
them do it.
friend we had around here.
Yes, sir. It
Well,
hurt.
as far as any equipment to be worked on, anything to be done down there, I would come here on my way to work, drive the piece of equipment into the plant. Somebody would work on it, 4 o'clock, I'd bring it back home, bring it back out here. And at any time, if they had trouble, a few times they had trouble, the firehouse went down. I'd head right up here, get the light truck, bring her down there, fire it up, run lights through the place so they could see to do certain things in there. But when that power plant went down, it was bad wind inside the plant.
They brought up the generator. I wasn't in on any of this, but I'm sure somebody in this group was. They had a real deep snowstorm, I think, in the latter part of the 60s. And that generator was moved from farm to farm so it could milk cows.
That's right. Yeah.
The cows, I mean, there was no electricity. They couldn't milk the cows. That generator was set up in different, I don't know, some of y'all almost called it, I would.
They tried to milk the cows by hand.
Yeah.
But the cows didn't want to be milked by hand. They were used to the milkers, and they would kick your buckets from one end of the barn to the other. The guys was up there said those cows just wouldn't let you milk them by hand. The old big generator down there pulled them. They did all right. They said they'd kick them buckets clean from one end of the barn to the other. They just didn't want nobody milking by hand. Poured the milk on the hillside.
Yeah.
Couldn't get trucks in the hallway.
Well, Debbie, you think you got most of your question out. This bunch here would run the mouth from now till tomorrow. But I tell you, it's been good to get all this bunch back together. It's a shame now, others that we got right around town here, I don't know whether it's something, think we'll try to get this crew together annually? Think it's justifiable thing?
I don't know why Frank Curtis didn't come.
Well, he's been sick, Frank. Frank's sick.
Oh, okay. Did you want to run off through all your questions? Just quickly?
I've been through
You
everything.
had?
Frank, everything
You
has
covered everything on
been
this list,
covered over
so-
here.
We'd
Let
talk till
somebody else-
Thursday if you'd let us.
Let somebody else think there is something of importance that should be told.
Yeah.
I do want to correct one mistake that's out on the wall. They got, out there, the one close to the door this way, they got 1968, but it was 1966. Because it was, I was captain, and we, at the state convention, we take first place in the rescue squad, and the safety thing, first aid. The junior squad taking first place, and the ladies auxiliary taking second place. It was almost a clean sweep.
Very good.
But they got 1968, but it's 1966 when it happened.
Well, I'd like to express my thanks for this whole affair.
Me too.
I would like to see it be an annual thing. I would hope that the rest of our outfit at some time could get to see this tape of this thing.
Yes.
I mean, I think there's something built into these numbers that I hope could be built into the ones that's in now. You know what I mean? I mean, if you've been around long, if you see what's here. And they need to look at it in the same way I think we look at it. Not just in, you know, we got plenty of money, and we can be doctors, and we can run fast, and we got to run.
We're getting to the personal part of it now.
Truthfully, you know, truthfully, they need to get the companionship that was within this outfit all the years. It may still be here, and I hope it is, but they need to end up 20 years from now with the feeling we have. That's what I hope.
And you know what? They will.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, it's just like, you know, this is good we've got now. It's been talked about for several years. We've lost Bill, we lost Edwin, we lost Sam, we've lost Jack. Those are some that have been talking about getting involved in this.
Yeah.
Now they're not here.
Right.
Right.
But it's something, if it would be justifiable to go annually.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate all the effort. I really do.
I
Thanks
appreciate
to Debbie. She
Yeah, it wasn't on me.
All the
And others.
And all the ones that cooked or whatever they did, it's really been
I tell
great.
you one thing, right over here is a lot of backing that all of us have had. There's some of us not here. Most of them felt like knocking us in the head at some times. We deserve it, probably. You got a meal ready, up and gone. Don't know when they're coming back.
Can we say a closing prayer for us?
Sure. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity for us to gather all these important members of the Fredericksburg Rescue Squad together this morning. We ask your blessings on those who were unable to attend for whatever reason, and we ask your guidance in the future. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Here,
And the phone
now,
rang.
did you want to ask me? Okay.